Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you. I hope you enjoy. Today's gonna be something a little different. It's gonna be a story time, and it is why I stopped dating. Now this is a very important tale for people to hear, just because of some of the dangers you may not notice you're in. But the main thing is, this is just like a dating disaster. Absolutely awful. But of course, it starts out fine. You know, boy meets girl in a bar. We're hanging out for a little bit. I should have first noticed that his buddy took off with a very strange story. He said, "I'll see you upstairs." The bar only had one floor. So that was a little weird, but his friend looked a little like Hugh Grant, so like, whatever. But he introduced himself and we talked for a little bit. I had my friend there, and he seemed perfectly normal. And after a while, you know, we exchanged numbers, and he was like, "Hey, let's meet for a date tomorrow." I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Oh, but I don't have a car right now, so is it okay if we meet at the park near Half Price Books?" I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And so we went to Half Price Books and to the park, and things were a little odd, but I mean, you know, first date, whatever. Then one of my friends decided to come over and said that we should all go back to my place. Big mistake. He learned where I lived. We went over there, we hung out. I assumed my friend would stay with me, but that friend had to leave early. And so it's just me and the stranger. But by this time he's been drinking, like, a lot. And, you know, I'm still trying to be polite because, you know, I have a strange man in my place. And he starts saying some pretty weird stuff. He asked me to sit down on the kitchen floor because he had something he wanted to tell me. I was like, okay, this guy's a little crazy, but okay. So I sat down on the floor. And then he started telling me that he thinks it's hot when a guy beats up another guy. I was like, okay, sure. Why are you telling me? And then all of a sudden it was like he snapped, and all of a sudden he became crazier and crazier. I'm actually very thankful to be alive, and luckily I did not get hurt, but not everyone in this instance would be so lucky. Back to the story. Here I am alone with this guy. He's talking about wanting to beat up other men, stuff like that. Snaps. And then, while I'm still sitting on the floor, he's like, "Why don't you love me anymore? Why don't you love me anymore?" And I'm like, I met you yesterday. I don't know you. I don't love you. And I never said I did. And again, he started crying, and then He's like, you don't love me anymore. I'm gonna have my girlfriend and me come over here and like kick your ass and we're gonna kill you and like all sorts of strange threats. Now, my next problem I had to solve was, how the heck do I get this guy out of my apartment at the time? So I asked him like, hey, so who's picking you up? And he's like, no one. And then we go back to, why don't you love me? Again, very first date, met him the night before. So I'm like, well, I can give you a ride home if you just tell me, where do you live? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, can you call somebody? Or something? It took probably about another hour till I convinced him to get into the car. Which also could have been a very bad mistake. He was literally freaking out, and we were driving down a hill on a street in town, and he opened up the car door and said he was gonna like jump out and kill himself. And I'm just like, dude, I gotta get this guy out of my car. Do I want him to jump out? Like, no, I don't want him to jump out, but what do I do? Like, So I said I needed to get some gas. I figured that's a great story, especially since he wouldn't tell me where we were going. So I just needed to get out of there. So we went to a gas station, and I gave him a little bit of money and said, hey, why don't you go in and get some snacks and maybe some cigarettes or whatever, and there's some money for the phone and stuff. And he's like, oh, okay. So he goes inside and he starts picking out some stuff, and then I decide to get the heck out of there. I put my car in reverse, and he ended up running outside. He left whatever he was looking at inside, and I had to stop because there was a car behind me. So he came running up like full speed and like flicked me off like right into my windshield. Like he was trying to break the window and he kept hitting it, and it was very scary. So I managed to get away, and I thought I was done. And I was like, oh my god, that was so stupid. How could I put myself in such a situation? And I'm done with that boy. Well, unfortunately, he wasn't done with me. Every night for at least the next 7 nights, he would somehow get a ride to my apartment and would just like be knocking on my door at like 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m. Like, I'm so sorry. Give me another chance. And another guy, maybe. This guy, absolutely not. So at first I was like, go away. Don't make me have to call the police. I don't want to talk to you. I'm still in love with my ex. Like, I was doing anything I could to get through this guy's brain that he was scaring me. I didn't want to hang out. And it got dangerous. Well, this went on for a while. So this went on for a while. Him coming to my apartment day and night. Me not opening the door, not answering his calls, not responding to his texts. Now I do want to say one thing is this was before rideshare drivers. So that would have been a really excellent option to just be like, here's the guy, pay for his ride, bye-bye. And I mean, taxis existed, so that would have probably been a logical choice. But he really frightened me. He started saying, kill me again, and that he was gonna have his girlfriend come and beat me up. And I'm like, okay, if you have a girlfriend, why were you even wanting to get with me? And upset. There was just, I couldn't wrap my brain around it because it literally didn't make sense. So I went and actually moved my pets and moved in with my parents for about a week or two because I just didn't feel safe being there, because I never knew if he was going to try to break a window or what he would do if he could get in. You know? I don't know if it would be another sit down talking about him liking to beat up men, or, you know, something really bad. So, because of that, I actually ended up moving. It took a little while, but I moved away. I blocked his number, and I hope I never see him again. Just be careful. Just because you met someone and they seem normal, and your friend's gonna be there, it's not always that safe. And trust me, I've had a lot of dating disasters, but this was my last one, because I came so close to, I don't even want to know. So, be careful. If someone's asking why you're not in love with them anymore and you just met them, get out. Get away. Get somewhere safe. Don't let them know where you live. You know, all the normal basics. Don't drive around with a stranger. I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I was like 22, you know, you think nothing's gonna happen. But I am so thankful I was able to move. And I hope I never, ever, ever see that person again. So, that is one of the reasons why I stopped dating.